The Shop to the Apartment. Written and read by W.P. Thrift. You can find me at Lantis Armstrong on Twitter. Chapter 11. The Pool Chapter. Everyone was chillaxing around the pool at the apartment complex on this warm, sunny August day. Bowman floated on a raft that had a bear face on it while sipping an iced tea, his newfound waterproof technology for his goggles allowing them to double as diving goggles if he felt so inclined. Sweeney sat on the ground next to a cooler, pounding down beers, which he had as of yet to let anyone else have one. Lantis laid back on a lounge chair while Annabelle freaked out over how incredibly swollen he had let his ankle become without treatment. Lucky for him, she was currently taking nursing classes in preparation for a new job that she had lined up. While she was well past wealthy enough to never need to work a day in her life, she had always insisted on having a job just to fend off boredom.
Does it need to be drained? Maybe if I make a quick incision here... Oh, I have the tools for stitching it up in my purse. Hold on.
Annabelle fretted over how to even get started treating an injury which had been left untreated for so long now.
Just stay still. Don't get up until I have fixed this.
But my iced tea's about empty, Lantis said, holding up the glass. Annabelle snatched it from his hand, ordered him to stay put, and ran to get him a refill. Lantis grinned while closing his eyes, thinking it was great to be fussed over for once. But, speaking of fussing over someone, Lantis peeked his eyes back open to watch Dash on the other side of the swimming pool, who was currently chatting with Rose. Rose was a longtime friend of Dash's since high school, and it just so happened that she lived in this apartment complex. So Dash came over to visit her from time to time, bringing Annabelle with her today as Annabelle heard that there would be a pool involved. By chance, the three gals ran into the three guys at the pool, and they had all been hanging out all day ever since. Dash, upon seeing Lantis, flushed bright red in embarrassment at just how overjoyed she was to see him out of prison, the redness in her face overly apparent due to her remarkably pale skin. Of course, she refused to admit this, choosing instead to just yell at him for being dumb enough to get thrown in prison in the first place. For every kind thing her heart ordered her to say to him, she thought up 3 mean things to say instead. None of that discouraged Lantis one little bit, however, as he was a glutton for punishment who just thought that she was cool enough to be worth any amount of abuse if he could just hang out with her for even one afternoon. It was likely the tattoo sleeves that did it for him, depicting roses and thorns running up and down each of her arms. Dash was a local car mechanic that he had only ran into a few times before. A blue-haired punk that didn't get along with any of his friends, thinking of them as dangerous individuals since seeing them, Bowman and Radix, fighting desperately for their lives back in high school on so many different occasions. Radix had always said that that was bullshit, that he shouldn't be punished for having the skills necessary to stay alive. Either way, Lantis now kicked back and watched Dash try and argue with Rose about something, though he couldn't quite make out what they were saying.
Listen, it's 8 feet deep. That's plenty enough to go diving here,
is what Dash was saying.
Maybe,
Rose considered.
I just don't think it's safe. The sign said no diving.
That's because idiots don't know what they're doing and probably get hurt trying to dive.
But you don't think I'm an idiot, right?
Dash pressed.
No, of course not,
Rose said at once.
Then how about cheering me on while I do my thing, and don't be such a worrywart? I'll try my best,
Rose promised. Dash dived into the water, and it went just fine. She swam around the bottom for a moment, fighting against the buoyancy until she grew short on breath, then returned to the surface.
See? No sweat,
Dash said.
Yay! You did it!
Rose was happy for her successfully not smacking her head on the bottom of the pool. "Okay, now you try," Dash ordered, not requested. "No, I couldn't possibly. It's too deep. I think I'll just go to the shallow end." Rose began to back away from the edge of the pool. "Oh, come on. What's wrong?" "Don't think you can do a better dive than me?" Dash taunted. Meanwhile, Annabelle returned with the iced tea, handed it to Lantis, and then began to dig out medical supplies that she kept on hand. Lantis sipped the iced tea, then put it down before picking up a tube of sunscreen and began pouring it out on himself, doing a terrible job of actually rubbing any of it in and ending up with white streaks everywhere. He didn't care, because it should still be able to do its job like this. Rose continued to very quietly protest Dash's taunts, and Annabelle glanced over to watch part of their exchange, just chuckling to herself about it. "Those two, I swear," Annabelle said. "What about those two?" Lantis asked. While he spoke casually, he was in fact desperately trying to learn anything he possibly could about Dash. "Oh, you know," Annabelle said dismissively. "Dash has such a competitive spirit, but she just doesn't seem to understand that not everyone feels like everything should be made into a contest, like she does. She's going to stress poor Rose out so much today. Just you watch." "What's the contest? I'll participate," Lantis said, sitting up. Annabelle quickly shoved him back down. "No, you won't! Not on that ankle!" she ordered. Lantis wondered if there was some way he could get around this, but decided against it. Maybe limping in pain wasn't the best way to impress Dash. He'd just have to try again some day, when he was more up to it. "What else does she compete in?" Lantis asked. "Not much else officially," Annabelle considered. "She's been known to drag race, I suppose, but you didn't hear that from me. Oh, there is the racetrack downtown. She's quite the fast runner, you know. But she tends to stay so busy with work that she rarely has a chance to make an appearance. So she's more known as an urban legend around there now than an active participant." Lantis thought about that. In his mind, he envisioned himself going down to the racetrack and working at it until he could crush her old time, forcing her out of retirement. He imagined her appearing, demanding to know who had bested her time, and seeing that it was him. Fire would burn in both of their eyes as they set a time to hold a race to determine, once and for all, who the best runner was. But then Lantis had to stop and think. Would she like him more if he won, or if he lost? She may hate losing to the point that it causes her to hate him. Or, if she won, she may tell him that she doesn't date losers. He pushed that fantasy out of his mind, uncertain of what the best possible outcome of it could have been. "Darling, you didn't scream?" Annabelle asked. "What?" Lantis glanced down at her. "I just pricked you with this needle. Could you not feel that?" "Oh, yeah, I can. What about it?" Annabelle fretted. "Maybe there's some nerve damage. Or maybe you're trying to act all macho and pretend like it doesn't hurt." "It hurts," Lantis said, confused over what the issue was here. "Just, if I screamed every time I was at that level of pain, I'd never stop screaming." Annabelle's jaw went slack, thunderstruck by his statement. "This is some good iced tea. Thank you for it, by the way," Lantis said, enjoying his drink, though he nearly dropped it due to all the sunscreen that was on his hands now, making his palms slippery. Several gunshots caused everyone to freeze from what they were doing and look over the fence just outside of the pool. Well, everyone but Sweeney, who was shotgunning his 20th beer, and Bowman, who was just feeling too relaxed and lazy to bother looking up at anything. bobbing up and down on his raft from a small rippling wave caused by Dash's latest dive. A middle-aged lady wearing a hairnet and an apron stood on the other side of the fence, holding a gun in her left hand which she had just fired up into the air. "Beverly Lunch Lady?" Lantis gasped, sitting up again. Annabelle was too startled to even shove him back down.
"Beverly?"
Now Bowman sat up.
"I'll take the fish sticks, and an extra milk. Oh, please. Oh, wait, it's not lunchtime. I'll just see you in the cafeteria later, Beverly. Oh, no, wait, I'm not in high school anymore. You and yours, getting my hopes up like that. Oh, dang it, now I want fish sticks. Oh, ha, oh."
The lady entered the fenced-in pool area and then revealed her right arm. A bright red surgical scar went all the way around it, just above the elbow. But it wasn't her arm that had been sewn back onto her.
"Brother!"
Beverly Lunch Lady shrieked.
"Did you think you had seen the last of me?"
There was a long pause where nothing happened. She assumed everyone was just surprised to see her, which was partially correct. But, additionally, not one person here had any idea what was going on. That she didn't realize.
"I am not Beverly. Beverly is no more. I had my right arm sewn onto her, and then I took control of her psychically. Do you not recognize me, brother? It is I, Liquid. I have returned,"
declared the Liquid Lunch Lady. Annabelle and Dash both turned to Lantis, realizing Liquid Lunch Lady was talking to him. Rose, meanwhile, had already ran off to find some place to hide, having had a panic attack from all the gunfire and aggressive screaming coming from the intruder. Lantis scratched his head. "I really don't remember a Liquid. Have we met?" He glared at Lantis.
"How dare you pretend not to remember me? Do you not know? We are both the sons of Mar, 2 of 3 children of Mar, also known as the Terrible Children. Genetic triplets born into this world to destroy it."
Lantis cocked his head to the side in confusion. Then he looked over towards Dash. "I swear I would never destroy you," he promised her, hoping that would be a romantic statement to make. Annabelle whacked his swollen ankle, which actually did make him scream out in pain.
"You're not going to make me the same promise?"
Annabelle said with indignity, and then she gasped, looked at Lantis, looked over at Dash, looked back at Lantis, then looked back over at Dash.
"Oh my gosh! You are totally—"
Annabelle began to squee loudly, realizing that Lantis liked Dash, as in liked her. Annabelle thought that they would make an absolutely adorable couple. She gave Lantis a huge wink.
"Don't worry, your secret is safe with me."
Liquid Lunch Lady, super pissed at being ignored, fired several shots into the air before he screamed,
"Don't ignore your executioner! I'm here to bring the prophecy one step closer to fulfillment. It has been said that if only one of the triplets remain in this world, they will destroy it. So to gain the power I need to destroy Earth, you must die."
Lantis reached up a hand, and Annabelle took it and helped him up. Even though he was wearing swim trunks now, he still had the handgun on him from earlier, the one he had gotten from Al at the Circle M. He had kept it with him at all times, knowing that the day might come that he needed it to defend himself. And so, fearlessly, Lantis drew the handgun from his pocket and all the lotion he had on his hand from putting on sunscreen earlier caused him to immediately drop the gun, which hit the ground and fired off another shot into his good ankle.
Fuck!
Lantis screamed out.
Oh my God!
Annabelle also screamed, jumping back. Soon as her hand was off Lantis, he lost his balance and fell backwards back onto the lounge chair.
Lantis!
Dash cried out, quickly swimming across the pool and jumping out of it, rushing over to him to help him back up.
You idiot! You idiot! Don't handle guns if you don't know what you're doing!
While scolding him, she squeezed him close to her, fighting the urge to outright hug him, and pretending to merely hold him up. This did not escape Annabelle's notice, and she made a mental note that she would totally have to hook those two up, if they all survived today. Speaking of, Liquid Lunch Lady was getting a huge kick out of this.
It's good to know that there is no chance that you were the chosen one. And here I was worried that your skill set would prove to be a challenge to my own,
Liquid Lunch Lady declared.
In fact, I don't even think I'll waste my own time with killing you. Sam XP, activate and destroy him. Oh, no, wait. Kill his friends in front of him, and then kill him. That other Liquid said that I was the evil one of the two. So, let's prove him right.
Annabelle grabbed Lantis's other side, and she and Dash did their best to help him limp painfully away from here. But they were going far too slow, and Sam XP came rushing in from out of nowhere so fast. His plasma blaster already charging up, and more than capable of disintegrating all three of them in a single shot. But orders were orders, so instead of taking them out, he glanced around first. Bowman still floated around in the pool, ignoring everything that was going on. Behind the nearby gym, Rose was hiding. He could detect her heat signature. Finally, Sweeney sat the most out in the open of everyone, also ignoring everything that was going on.
You will watch your friends burn, as Liquid commands. Incorrect function!
Sam XP shrieked as he arrived and leapt over the fence, blasting his plasma cannon at Sweeney mid-air. With that done, Sam XP turned his plasma cannon towards the gym, ready to blow it up and take Rose along with it. Except his scanners beeped at him that his first target was still alive. He assumed that Sweeney would now be a charred mess on the ground, given that his cannon was built to blow up tanks. Perhaps Sweeney had just barely survived somehow, and was somehow capable of the faintest amount of brain activity, just enough to set his scanners off. But instead, Sweeney was still sitting there on the cooler, apparently unharmed. Frustrated, Sam XP assumed the first shot to be a dud and fired again, watching this time to make sure that it landed. The plasma blast struck Sweeney square in the face as he went to take another sip of beer. It smacked the beer can out of his mouth while exploding in his face. Sweeney only grunted, not a mark on him, and reached back into the cooler for another beer. And then he realized there were no more beers. That beer had been the very last one. Sweeney turned and watched in seemingly slow motion as the beer can, knocked out of his hand, slowly rolled across the ground and fell into the pool, ruining it. Sweeney's breathing intensified.
You shall soon know pain. You shall soon know death. You shall soon know... Holy shit, he's coming right for me!
Sam XP's speech was interrupted as Sweeney bolted fast as lightning across the pool and straight for him. Liquid Lunch Lady jumped out of the way as Sweeney charged, grabbing Sam XP in one hand and began smashing him all over the place, then slung him through the fence, smashing through several cars before the robot sprawled out somewhere out in the parking lot.
Holy fuckballs!
Sam XP screamed, watching Sweeney fly through the air and come crashing down right where he had been a second before. Sam XP was barely able to move out of the way in time.
Incorrect function!
Sam XP protested. Opening a hatch on his back, rocket jets extended out and Sam XP flew up into the sky, planning to gain enough altitude to be able to safely blast down at Sweeney without the giant being able to reach him. Soaring up to the clouds, Sam XP thought that he was safe, and began scanning for Sweeney's location with his targeting program. He didn't have to look long. Sweeney was right in front of him, having leapt nimbly several hundred feet into the air. Grabbing Sam XP, the two of them began to plummet back towards the ground. Of all the places that they could have landed, of course they'd have to smack straight through the roof of Sweeney's own apartment. His housemates were probably going to be steamed about this later. Plummeting towards the carpet in the hallway, their trajectory took them straight down towards the wet spot in the carpet where the AC had been leaking for more than a week now. Spaloosh and whammo! They did not hit the water's surface, but rather a gigantic galleon exploded up through the waves from underwater. It was in fact a ghost pirate ship, piloted by none other than Captain Blackbeard himself.
You wants me treasure? You can have it! It be waiting for you down in Davy Jones' locker!
Captain Blackbeard declared from behind the rudder.
Yar har 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 har!
Sweeney rolled across the deck, then spun around to get back on his feet. Sam XP was freaking out, unable to comprehend where they had even landed at. His scanners were going haywire, unable to pinpoint any sort of latitude or longitude. It was as though he had completely fallen off the face of the earth. He shut down his GPS program, assuming it had to be busted. Attempting to move back away from Sweeney, Sam XP fell down when the ship lurched. Sweeney also lost his footing, collapsing down on top of Sam XP. The ship was crashing up and down amongst the waves as a fierce storm was brewing overhead. A tremendous rogue wave was off the starboard bow, while several waterspouts had formed off the port side. The ship fought fiercely against the smaller waves, trying to turn towards the skyscraper-high rogue wave, lest the ship get overwhelmed and sink once more. The mast of the ship was already in shreds, so they didn't need to be drawn. But a whole crew of skeleton pirates still emerged from below deck anyway. They all ran straight at Sweeney and Sam XP to begin thwacking at them with swords. Both of them being immune to such weaponry, they were able to ignore the ghost pirate crew entirely. Sam XP worked the hydraulics in his legs overtime to try and keep his footing as a powerful wind blew against him, constantly changing directions and throwing his footing off again. His only saving grace was that Sweeney also seemed to have trouble keeping his footing. He kept blasting his plasma cannon at Sweeney, knowing that it couldn't stop him, but hoping that it would slow him down enough that he could have time to come up with some kind of plan. Alas, Sam XP would never find the time. As Sweeney lunged at him, grabbed him in both of his hands, and twisted his robotic body until all of the support structures in his endoskeleton snapped, and Sam XP was twisted in half. Sweeney slammed both halves down on the deck to his left and right side, so hard that they bounced and went flying overboard in both directions. Sam XP had been built waterproof, but that protection did not extend to his body being torn completely open. Water flooded his power generator, and a massive explosion engulfed his body, which also shattered the rogue wave coming straight for the ship. The immediate danger having passed, the Ghost Pirate crew busted out several barrels of rum to celebrate, which they gladly shared with Sweeney, who is now an honorary member of the crew for having saved them. That concludes Chapter 11 of The Apartment. Tune in every Tuesday for new chapters. If you would like to reach me, you can do so at Lantis Armstrong on Twitter. That's LANTISARMSTRONG. Thank you for tuning in, and we hope you'll join us again for next week's chapter, Battle of the Goddesses.